You know that feeling when you realize the people you die for wouldn't even live for you? Yeah, that's the moment everything changed for me. I'm Lisa, and I'm about to tell you how I went from being the family doormat to the woman who burned down Christmas without striking a single match. December 17th started like any other freezing Tuesday in Michigan. I was running late from my second job. Yeah, second, because apparently being a registered nurse wasn't enough to keep my head above water, while also bankrolling half my family's lifestyle. My fingers were numb from the cold as I fumbled with my keys at Mom's front door. The house where I'd grown up. The house where every holiday memory was supposedly made with love and warmth. That's what I thought, anyway. I pushed the door open quietly, because my shift had run until almost 11 and I figured everyone would be asleep. The living room was dark, except for the glow coming from the kitchen, and I could hear voices. Low, conspiratorial voices that made something in my gut twist. "She'll be here Christmas Eve, right?" That was my brother Derek's voice, thick with something that sounded almost like excitement. "Obviously, she never misses." My sister Amanda laughed, and it wasn't her normal laugh. It was cold, sharp. Little Miss Perfect with her guilt complex. I froze. In the hallway, my hand still on the doorknob behind me. The December wind pushed at my back, but I couldn't move forward or backward. I was suspended in that terrible moment where you know you're about to hear something that will change everything, but you can't stop it from happening. "I still think this is harsh." That was my younger cousin Jake, but his voice was weak, uncertain. "Harsh?" My mother's voice cut through the kitchen like a blade. My mother? The woman who'd raised me? Who I'd worked myself to the bone to help half my family's lifestyle? My throat closed up. I couldn't breathe. "The look on her face is going to be priceless," Derek said, and I could hear him slapping the table. "We've got all the receipts printed out, every single time she's helped us. We're going to lay it all out in front of everyone, show her what she really is." "A control freak," Amanda added, "using money to manipulate us, making us feel like we owe her something." "Because you do." My mother's voice again, but bitter now, resentful. "She acts like she's so generous, but it's just her way of keeping score. Well, Christmas Eve, in front of the whole family, we're settling that score. We're going to read out every single thing she's ever lorded over us, and then we're telling her exactly what we think of her and that she's not welcome here anymore." The world tilted sideways. My vision blurred, and for a second, I thought I might actually pass out right there in the hallway. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of nightmare, the kind you get when you work a double shift and your brain is too fried to function properly. But Jake's uncomfortable response brought me crashing back to reality. "Aunt Claire, don't you think? I mean, Lisa's done a lot for all of us. She paid for my community college." "Exactly," Amanda's voice rose, sharp and angry. "She paid for it so you'd feel obligated to her forever. That's how she operates. She's been doing it since Dad died, stepping in like she's the matriarch when she was barely 23. Now she's 31 and still thinks she runs this family." Someone had to step up, I whispered to myself in that dark hallway, but the words came out strangled, broken. When Dad died 8 years ago, he left nothing but debt and broken dreams. Mom had fallen apart, Derek was in rehab for the third time, Amanda was pregnant at 19 with a deadbeat boyfriend who split town, and the bills kept coming. So yeah, I stepped up. I took the extra shifts. I helped with the mortgage. I paid for Derek's rehab when insurance wouldn't cover it. I bought formula and diapers for Amanda's baby. I made sure Jake could go to college instead of dropping out like Derek had. And this was what I got for it. "The caterer's all set for Christmas Eve," Mom was saying now, her voice returning to normal volume, almost cheerful. "Lisa always insists on paying for everything, so I went ahead and ordered the premium package. Might as well get one last expensive meal out of her before we cut her loose." They all laughed, even Jake, weakly, like he was afraid not to. I don't remember backing out of the house. I don't remember getting in my car or driving back to my apartment. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in my parking lot, staring at nothing, my hands shaking so hard I couldn't unbuckle my seatbelt. Humiliate me. In front of everyone. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, family friend who'd be there for our annual Christmas Eve celebration. They were gonna tear me apart, present all my sins of helping them, and then kick me out of the family like I was garbage. And the caterer, the premium package, the one I was supposed to pay for, of course. I sat in that car for 2 hours while the windows fogged up and my tears turned cold on my face. I cycled through everything: denial, bargaining, more denial. Maybe I'd heard wrong. Maybe they were just venting, blowing off steam, and they didn't really mean it. But I knew they meant it. I'd heard the conviction in their voices. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment complaint. This was planned, coordinated. They'd been discussing it, probably for weeks. They had receipts printed out. They had a whole presentation planned for my destruction. Somewhere around 2 in the morning, something inside me shifted. The grief and shock crystallized into something harder, colder. If they wanted me gone, fine, I'd be gone. But I'd be gone on my terms, not theirs. They wanted to humiliate me? I'd give them humiliation. Not mine, theirs. I drove home in the pre-dawn darkness, my mind already working through the plan. I had 7 days. 7 days to prepare for the Christmas that wouldn't happen. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. It was like someone had wiped a dirty window clean, and suddenly I could see everything I'd been refusing to look at. How many family dinners had included little digs at my perfect life? How many times had someone made a joke about me being the Bank of Lisa? How many times had Mom sighed about how I just didn't understand because I didn't have kids, even though I'd basically raised Amanda's daughter for the first 3 years of her life while Amanda got her life together? I'd explained it all away. Family dynamics, stress, people say things they don't mean. Except they did mean it. They meant all of it. I went to work that day like normal. I smiled at my patients, I checked vitals, I administered medications, I held the hand of an elderly woman who was scared of her upcoming surgery. I was good at my job because I genuinely cared about people. The irony wasn't lost on me that I could care for strangers with more compassion than my own family felt for me. During my lunch break, I started making calls. First, the caterer. Hi, yes, I need to cancel the order for December 24th under Claire Morrison's name. Yes, I know it's last minute. No, I won't be paying the cancellation fee because I'm not the one who placed the order. I was told I'd be paying, but plans have changed. I suggest you contact Claire directly for payment. Yes, I understand she'll be upset. That's between you and her. The poor woman on the other end of the line tried to argue, but I held firm. Let Mom deal with it. Let her scramble to explain to a caterer why she'd ordered a premium package she couldn't afford. Next, I called my landlord. My lease was month to month, which I'd always kept that way, just in case. In case of what, I'd never been sure, but apparently my subconscious had been preparing for this. I'd like to give notice. I'll be moving out by the end of January. Yes, I'll still pay through February as required. Thank you. Then I opened my laptop and started looking for job postings. Not just in Michigan, everywhere. California, Oregon, North Carolina, Florida. Places where winter didn't bite quite so hard, where I wouldn't run into my family at the grocery store, where I could start over and build a life that belonged to me and nobody else. I found a posting that made my heart skip. A nurse practitioner position at a private hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. Better pay, better hours, better benefits, better everything. I updated my resume right there in the hospital cafeteria and sent it off before I could talk myself out of it. The next few days were a blur of preparation disguised as normalcy. I showed up for my shifts. I responded to family texts with my usual messages. When Mom texted asking if I'd pick up wine for Christmas Eve, I said, sure, no problem. When Amanda sent a photo of her daughter asking if Aunt Lisa would bring the special cookies she always made, I hearted the message and replied, of course, sweetie. I played my part perfectly. But behind the scenes, I was dismantling my life. I went through my apartment and started packing the things that mattered. Photos from college, books I'd collected over the years, the quilt my grandmother had made me before she died, my real grandmother, Dad's mom, who'd actually loved me. Everything else could be donated or left behind. I opened a new bank account at a different bank, one my family didn't know about. I transferred most of my savings there. I set up my direct deposit to change after the first of the year. On December 20th, Charleston called back. They wanted to do a video interview. I took it in my car during my lunch break, and by the end of the call, they were offering me the position starting February 1st. I accepted on the spot. I was really doing this. I was blowing up my entire life and starting over. The thing about making a decision like this is that once you commit, there's a kind of freedom in it. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't second-guessing. I knew exactly what I was doing and why. December 22nd, I worked my last shift at the hospital, though nobody knew it yet. I'd already submitted my resignation letter effective immediately after the holidays, citing family relocation, which was technically true. I was relocating away from family. My coworkers threw me a little goodbye party in the break room. They thought I'd be back after Christmas. See you next week, they said. I smiled and hugged them and didn't correct them. I'd call my supervisor on the 26th and explain. Or maybe I'd just let the resignation letter speak for itself. December 23rd was the hardest day. I drove to Mom's house to drop off the presents I'd bought before I'd overheard everything. A cashmere sweater for Mom, a new tool set for Derek, who was supposedly staying sober and working construction now, a tablet for Amanda so she could take online classes, a gaming console for Jake because he'd mentioned wanting one, hundreds of dollars in gifts for people who were planning to destroy me in front of the entire family in less than 48 hours. I left the presents on the porch. I didn't knock. I couldn't trust myself to see them and maintain the facade. As I drove away, I took one last look at that house in my rearview mirror. The house where I'd skinned my knees learning to ride a bike. The house where Dad had taught me to change a tire in the driveway. The house where I'd cried when my first boyfriend broke up with me, and Mom had made me hot chocolate and told me I deserved better. That version of Mom felt like a different person now. Or maybe I was just finally seeing the real version. I didn't cry. I'd cried all my tears earlier in the week. Now I was just numb, moving through the motions, watching my old life disappear in the rearview mirror like scenery on a highway. December 24th, Christmas Eve, the day of reckoning. I woke up at 6 in the morning, made myself a strong cup of coffee, and sat by my window watching the sun rise over the frozen city. In a few hours, my family would be getting ready for the big event. Mom would be stressing about the food that wasn't coming. Amanda would be doing her makeup, preparing her speech about what a controlling monster I was. Derek would be rehearsing his lines about how I'd always made him feel inferior. And I would be nowhere near any of it. I spent the morning finishing my packing. By noon, my apartment looked like a shell of itself. The walls were bare, the closets were empty. Everything I cared about was either in boxes stacked by the door or already loaded in my car. At 3 o'clock, my phone started buzzing. Mom, what time are you coming? The family's starting to arrive. I stared at the message for a long moment. I could picture her in the kitchen, probably just discovering that no catering truck was pulling up, the panic starting to set in. I didn't respond. At 4 o'clock, Lisa, where are you? I need you to call me right now. There's a problem with the catering. At 4:30, Lisa, this isn't funny. Call me back immediately. Amanda joined in. Aunt Lisa, Mom's freaking out. Where are you? Derek, yo, you coming or what? Everyone's asking. Jake,
Lisa, please call your mom. She's really upset.
I watched the messages pile up, one after another, and felt nothing. No guilt, no sadness, no satisfaction, just a hollow kind of peace. At 5 o'clock, the time I was supposed to arrive with wine and cookies and my checkbook ready to pay for everything, Mom called. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. "Where are you?" Her voice was high, strained, trying to sound concerned but edged with anger. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It bubbled up from somewhere deep in my chest, weeks of pain and betrayal and hurt transforming into something sharp and bright. "Don't wait for me at the catering, Mom," I said, my voice steady and calm. "Actually, don't wait for me at all." "What? Lisa, what are you talking about? Everyone's here. We're all waiting for you. The catering didn't show up and I need you to… To what? Pay for it? Fix it? Save the day like I always do?" My laugh turned bitter. "Here's the thing, Mom. I canceled the catering days ago because I'm not coming. Not tonight, not ever again." Silence on the other end. I could hear voices in the background, people asking what was happening. You canceled it? Why would you… Lisa, this isn't like you. What's going on?" "What's going on is that I heard you, all of you, last Tuesday when I came by late and you didn't know I was there. I heard every word of your little plan to humiliate me in front of the entire family. I heard how you think I'm controlling and manipulative and how you can't wait to kick me out of the family." Another silence, longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. The fake concern was gone, replaced with something defensive and sharp. "You were eavesdropping?" "I was coming home," I shot back, "to the house I have been paying the mortgage on for 8 years, the house I've kept afloat while you and Derek and Amanda figured your lives out. I wasn't eavesdropping. I was existing in a space I'd earned the right to exist in, and you all were too busy planning my destruction to notice." "You're being dramatic. We were just venting." "You had receipts printed out, Mom. You had a whole presentation planned. You coordinated a public humiliation for Christmas Eve, and you were going to top it off by kicking me out of the family. That's not venting. That's premeditated cruelty." I could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. We wanted to talk to you about boundaries, about how you use money to… Stop." My voice cracked like a whip. "Don't you dare try to spin this now. You wanted to destroy me, and you were going to enjoy every second of it. So congratulations, Mom. You got your wish. I'm out of the family. You don't have to kick me out because I'm walking away." "Lisa, wait." "I canceled the catering. I quit my job. I'm moving out of state in January. You'll never have to feel small around me again because you'll never have to see me again." Want to know what happened next? How the family reacted in the aftermath? What secrets came spilling out when I wasn't there to hold everything together?
"Merry Christmas, Mom. I hope it's everything you wanted." I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. But underneath the adrenaline, there was something else. Something that felt almost like relief. The phone started ringing immediately. Mom, then Amanda, then Derek, then numbers I didn't recognize. Probably aunts and uncles who'd been briefed on the situation, who were calling to either shame me or try to smooth things over. I turned my phone off. I walked to my window and looked out at the city, at the Christmas lights twinkling on porches and in windows, at families gathering for their celebrations. Somewhere across town, my former family was probably in chaos. Mom would be crying, maybe. Amanda would be furious. Derek would be confused, following whatever lead the other set. Jake would be uncomfortable, caught in the middle. And for the first time in 8 years, their problems weren't mine to solve. I ordered Chinese takeout from the place down the street. I poured myself a glass of wine. I put on a movie I'd been wanting to watch but never had time for because I was always working or helping someone or running errands for family.
At 10 o'clock, I turned my phone back on for just a minute to check if there was anything important. There were 63 missed calls, 87 text messages, 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I skimmed through the texts. Most were variations of the same theme. How could you? This is so selfish. You've ruined Christmas. Mom is devastated. But there were a few that were different. Jake said, I don't blame you. I'm sorry for not speaking up more. I hope you find happiness wherever you go. And one from a number I didn't recognize. Lisa, this is Aunt Jean. I don't know what happened tonight, but I saw your mother's behavior and heard some things that made me sick. You don't owe anyone an explanation, least of all me. But I want you to know that if you need anything, a reference, a place to stay, someone to talk to, I'm here. Some of us remember what you've done for this family, and some of us are ashamed it came to this. I stared at Aunt Jean's message for a long time. She was Dad's sister, someone I hadn't been particularly close to, but who'd always been kind in a distant, polite way.
The fact that she'd reached out, that she'd seen through whatever story Mom was spinning, meant something. I saved her number. I didn't respond. Not yet. But I saved it. Then I turned the phone off again and went to bed. When I woke up on Christmas morning, the sun was streaming through my bare windows, and for the first time in years, I felt light, like I'd been carrying a boulder on my back and had finally set it down. I made coffee. I ate breakfast slowly, savoring it. I went for a walk in the cold morning air, past houses with families opening presents, past churches with their Christmas services starting up. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just free. The calls and messages continued over the next few days, but they decreased in frequency as reality set in. I changed my number on December 28th. I only gave the new number to my supervisor at the hospital, my new employer in Charleston, Aunt Jean, and Jake. New Year's Eve, I spent alone in my mostly empty apartment, drinking champagne and making lists of everything I wanted to do in Charleston. Take a cooking class. Join a book club. Go to the beach. Learn to paddleboard. Date someone who actually appreciated me. January came. I packed the last of my things. I said goodbye to Michigan, to the frozen winters, and the family that never really saw me. I drove south, toward warmer weather and new possibilities. Charleston was beautiful. The hospital was welcoming. My new apartment was small but perfect, with a balcony overlooking a tree-lined street. I made friends with my neighbors. I went to yoga classes. I adopted a cat from the local shelter, a scrappy orange tabby I named Phoenix. Because that's what I was doing, rising from the ashes of the life I'd burned down. February brought my first paycheck from the new job. It was bigger than anything I'd made in Michigan because I wasn't funneling half my income to family members anymore. I opened a retirement account. I bought myself a new couch, a real one, not a hand-me-down or a Facebook Marketplace find. March brought spring flowers and warm breezes and the realization that I hadn't thought about my family in 3 whole days. April brought a text from Aunt Jean. Your mother has been asking if I've heard from you. I told her I haven't. I hope that was the right answer. I hope you're well, Lisa. You deserve every happiness. I replied, thank you. I am well. Better than I've been in years. May brought a promotion at work, a recognition that I was good at what I did, that I was valued. But the real story, the real ending to what happened on Christmas Eve, that didn't come until June. I was at a coffee shop on a Saturday morning, laptop open, working on a continuing education course, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up.
Lisa? It was Jake's voice, older somehow, more mature than the last time we'd spoken. Hey, Jake, everything okay? Yeah, I wanted to call and tell you something. I wasn't sure if I should, but I figured you deserved to know. My stomach tightened. Know what? Everything fell apart after you left. Like, everything. Your mom couldn't afford the house without your help. She had to sell it in March. She's living with Amanda now, and they fight constantly because Amanda can't afford to support both of them. Derek fell off the wagon again. He's back in rehab, but I don't know if it'll stick this time. I should have felt satisfaction hearing this. Sweet karma, right? But mostly, I just felt tired. I'm sorry to hear that, Jake. I really am. The thing is, he continued, his voice getting stronger, watching it all fall apart made me realize something. You weren't controlling us with your money. You were holding us up. And the second you stepped back, we all fell down because none of us had ever learned to stand on our own. We blamed you for making us dependent, but you were just trying to help, and we never even tried to help ourselves. My eyes burned with unexpected tears. Jake, your mom knows now. She won't admit it, not out loud, but I can see it. She asks about you sometimes, really quietly, when she thinks no one's listening. I think she regrets what happened. I think they all do. But they haven't reached out? It wasn't a question. Pride, Jake said simply. And shame. How do you apologize for something like that? How do you come back from planning someone's public humiliation? They don't know how, so they don't try. We sat in silence for a moment, the phone line humming between Michigan and South Carolina. I got into a 4-year university. State school, but it's got a good engineering program. I got a partial scholarship and I'm taking out loans for the rest. I'm doing it myself, Lisa. No handouts, no help from family, because you taught me that I could. You believed in me before I believed in myself. Now the tears did fall, sliding down my cheeks in the middle of this crowded coffee shop. Jake, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you. I wouldn't be here without you. And I know I didn't stand up for you enough when I should have. I let them trash you because I was scared of becoming the target instead. That makes me a coward, and I'm sorry. But I want you to know that what you did for me mattered. It changed my life. You changed my life. You're going to do amazing things, I whispered. You already are.
After we hung up, I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, staring at nothing, processing everything. The family I'd left behind was falling apart, and I didn't feel the vindication I'd imagined I might feel. But I also didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I needed to swoop in and save them. I'd saved myself instead. And maybe that was the real moral of the story. You can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can't help people who resent your help. You can't love people who see your love as manipulation. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to put yourself first. That Christmas Eve, when I didn't show up to my own humiliation, when I laughed and told my mother not to wait for me at the catering, I wasn't being cruel. I was being kind to myself. The family I left behind would have to figure out how to stand on their own. It would be hard, maybe harder than anything they'd ever done. Some of them might make it, some of them might not. But that wasn't my responsibility anymore. My responsibility was to the woman I saw in the mirror every morning, the woman who'd spent 8 years giving everything to everyone else and had almost lost herself in the process. My responsibility was to Phoenix, who purred in my lap while I read books on my new couch. My responsibility was to my patients, who trusted me with their care. My responsibility was to the future I was building, brick by brick, in a city by the sea where nobody knew my history and I could be whoever I wanted to be. That's the thing about burning your life down. You get to rebuild it from the ashes, and this time you get to design it yourself. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but
What they don't tell you is that sometimes the coldest revenge is simply living well while the people who tried to destroy you implode without you there to catch them. And this is what happened after I disappeared from my family's life, and how the truth always finds a way to come out, even when you're not there to witness it. The thing about walking away from toxic people is that you don't just leave them behind, you leave a vacuum. And nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. When I wasn't there to be the glue holding my dysfunctional family together, everything that had been hidden beneath the surface came bubbling up like toxic sludge. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It was late June when Jake called me, and that conversation, the one where he told me everything had fallen apart back in Michigan, that wasn't the end of the story. It was barely the beginning. 2 weeks after Jake's call, on a sticky Carolina afternoon when the humidity made everything feel like you were swimming through the air, I got a letter. An actual physical letter, forwarded from my old Michigan address to my new place in Charleston. The handwriting on the envelope was shaky, uncertain. I didn't recognize it at first. I opened it standing at my mailbox, Phoenix weaving between my ankles. Dear Lisa, you don't know me, but I know you. My name is Patricia Chen, and I was your father's paralegal for the 3 years before he died. I've been carrying a secret for 8 years, and after what happened at Christmas, I can't carry it anymore. Your father would want you to know the truth. I'm dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors say I have maybe 3 months. Before I go, I need to set something right. Your father didn't leave you nothing when he died. He left you everything. My hands started shaking so hard the letter rattled like leaves in the wind. There was a life insurance policy worth $250,000. There was a retirement account with another $180,000. There were investment accounts, savings bonds, everything he'd worked for his entire life. He left it all to you, Lisa, every penny, because he knew you were the only one responsible enough to handle it. Your mother knew. She made me help her hide it. She said you were too young, that you'd waste it, that the family needed it more. She had me forge documents. She had me lie to the lawyers. She took that money, Lisa, and she's been living off it for 8 years while watching you work yourself to death trying to support everyone. I'm so sorry. I was scared of losing my job. I was scared of your mother. I told myself it was a family matter and not my business. But it was wrong, and I've lived with the guilt every single day. I've attached copies of all the original documents, bank statements, insurance policies, everything. I don't know what you'll do with this information, but you deserve to know the truth. I hope you can forgive me. More importantly, I hope you can forgive yourself for whatever you're feeling right now. With deep regret.
Patricia Chen, I don't remember walking back to my apartment. I don't remember unlocking my door or sitting down on my couch. The next thing I knew, I was surrounded by papers. Documents that Patricia had included, photocopies of bank statements showing deposits and withdrawals, insurance policies with my name as the sole beneficiary, handwritten notes in my mother's handwriting calculating how to divide up money that was never hers to divide. $250,000 in life insurance. Gone. Spent on what? I started going through the bank statements with a pen and paper tracking where the money had gone. Derek's multiple rehab stents, $80,000. Amanda's private community college that she'd dropped out of after 1 semester, $35,000. A new car for mom, $28,000. Home renovations, $45,000. Vacations, shopping sprees, bail money for Derek, credit card debt payments, on and on and on. And while she was spending my inheritance, she was watching me work double shifts, watching me take out loans to finish my own nursing degree, watching me scrape and sacrifice and give everything I had to keep the family afloat. She'd stolen my future and then guilted me into funding hers. I sat on that couch for 3 hours, paper spread around me like evidence at a crime scene, and I cycled through every emotion a human being can feel. Rage, betrayal, grief for the father who tried to take care of me even after death, grief for the 8 years I'd lost, the opportunities I'd missed, the life I could have had. But underneath it all was something else. A cold, crystalline clarity. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was fraud, identity theft, forgery, actual crimes. I gathered up all the papers, organized them into neat folders, and I made copies. Lots of copies. Then I sat down at my laptop and I started researching lawyers who specialized in estate fraud. By midnight, I had a plan. By the end of the week, I had a lawyer. His name was Marcus Webb, a sharp-eyed attorney in his 50s who's seen every kind of family financial betrayal imaginable and still managed to be shocked by mine. "This is one of the most clear-cut cases of estate fraud I've ever seen," he said, spreading the documents across his desk. "Your mother didn't just take money that wasn't hers, she actively conspired to hide assets from the rightful beneficiary. That's not a civil matter, Ms. Morrison. That's criminal." "I want it back," I said, my voice steady. "Every penny she stole from me, plus interest, plus damages for what I lost because I didn't have that money when I needed it. The student loans I had to take out, the interest I've paid, the opportunities I missed." "We can do that," Marcus said. "But I need you to understand what this means. If we pursue this to its full extent, your mother could face criminal charges. Prison time is a real possibility."
I thought about Christmas Eve, about overhearing them plan my humiliation, about my mother's voice, cold and sharp, calling me manipulative for trying to help. About 8 years of watching me struggle while she lived off money my father had left for me. "Good," I said. The lawsuit was filed in August. I didn't warn anyone. I didn't call ahead. The first my family heard about it was when Mom got served with papers at Amanda's apartment, where she was still living rent-free while they fought about everything, from grocery bills to whose turn it was to do laundry. Jake called me that night. "Lisa, what the hell is happening? Your mom is losing her mind. She says you're suing her? Something about your dad's life insurance?" "She stole my inheritance, Jake. $250,000 that Dad left to me, and she's been spending it for 8 years while I worked myself to death supporting everyone." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "Holy shit. Yeah. Does Derek know? Amanda?" "They're about to. They're named in the lawsuit, too, as recipients of stolen funds. The lawyer explained that we have to go after everyone who benefited from the fraud." "Lisa, I used some of that money for my community college." "I know. You're in the lawsuit too, Jake. I'm sorry, but don't apologize." His voice was firm. "If the money was yours and she stole it, then I took stolen property, even if I didn't know it was stolen. That's on her, not you. And for what it's worth, I'll pay back every penny if I can." "The lawyer says you probably won't have to, since you were a minor when most of it was spent on you and you had no knowledge of the fraud. But I appreciate you saying that." After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and stood on my balcony watching the fireflies dance in the warm southern night. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt powerful. Instead, I just felt tired. The next few weeks were chaos, filtered through updates from Marcus and occasional texts from Jake, who'd become my only real source of information about what was happening back in Michigan. Mom hired a lawyer, a cheap one, because she couldn't afford better. The lawyer took one look at the evidence and apparently told her she was screwed. Patricia's documentation was airtight. Mom had signed documents in my name. She'd cashed checks made out to me. She'd deposited money into accounts that should have been mine. There was no wiggle room, no gray area. She was guilty, and everyone knew it. Amanda was furious, but not at Mom, at me. "How can you do this to your own mother?" she texted from a new number I didn't have blocked yet. "After everything she's been through,
After Dad died and she had to raise us alone, you'd send her to prison over money? I didn't respond. There was nothing to say that she'd understand. Derek, surprisingly, was quiet. According to Jake, he'd relapsed again after getting the lawsuit papers, but this time he'd checked himself into a long-term facility, a state-run place, not one of the fancy rehabs Mom had paid for with my money. He was actually facing his demons this time, maybe for the first time ever. In September, Mom's lawyer called Marcus with a settlement offer. She'd pay back $100,000, nowhere near what she owed, but apparently all she could scrape together by selling everything she had left and borrowing from relatives. In exchange, I'd agree not to pursue criminal charges. "What do you want to do?" Marcus asked me. I thought about it for a long time. I thought about my dad, about how he'd wanted to take care of me. I thought about the life I could have had if I'd gotten that money when I was supposed to. I thought about being 23 years old and taking out student loans while there was $250,000 sitting in accounts with my mother's name on them. But I also thought about who I'd become. The woman sitting in a beautiful Charleston apartment with a job she loved and a future she'd built herself. The woman who'd learned she was strong enough to walk away from everything and start over. "Take the settlement," I told Marcus. "But there's one more condition. She has to write a letter, a real letter, handwritten, not typed, acknowledging exactly what she did and apologizing for it. And she has to give permission for me to share it with anyone I choose. I want the truth on record." Marcus grinned. "I like the way you think." The settlement was finalized in October. I got a check for $100,000, less than half what was stolen from me, but more than I'd had 8 months ago. More importantly, I got the letter. It arrived on a Tuesday, forwarded through Marcus's office. My mother's handwriting, shaky and small on lined notebook paper. "Lisa, I don't know how to write this. I've tried 6 times and thrown them all away. But the lawyer says I have to, and maybe I do owe you this much. I took your father's life insurance money. I took the retirement accounts and the investments. I forged your signature, and I lied to you for 8 years. I told myself I was doing it for the family, that you were too young to handle that kind of money, that I knew better. But the truth is, I was angry. I was angry at your father for dying and leaving me alone. I was angry that he left everything to you instead of me, like he didn't trust me. I was angry that you handled his death better than I did, that you stepped up and took charge while I fell apart. I watched you work yourself to exhaustion, and part of me was glad. Because if you were struggling too, then I wasn't alone in my suffering. If you were sacrificing too, then I didn't have to feel guilty about my own failures. When we planned that Christmas Eve confrontation, I convinced myself we were doing the right thing, that you needed to be taken down a peg, that you were using money to control us. But really, I think I just couldn't stand having you around anymore, being reminded every day of my own weakness and your strength. You were always your father's daughter, responsible, capable, strong, everything I wasn't, everything I couldn't be. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. But you deserved to know the truth, even if it makes me look like the villain of this story. Because maybe I am. Mom. I read that letter 3 times, and then I folded it carefully and put it in a file folder with all the other documents. Evidence. Proof. The truth. Finally, in black and white. But the real bomb dropped in November. I was at work, in the middle of checking in on a post-op patient, when my phone started buzzing frantically. Jake, then a number I didn't recognize, then Jake again, then Aunt Jean. I stepped into the hallway and called Jake back. "What's wrong?" have you talked to Amanda today? His voice was strained, weird. No, I haven't talked to Amanda since January. Why? She called me about an hour ago, completely hysterical. Lisa, she's pregnant again. And she told her boyfriend, you remember Trevor, the guy she's been seeing for like 2 years, she told him, and he said something that made her start asking questions.
My stomach dropped. What kind of questions? Questions about her daughter. About Mia. Lisa, Tremor's black. He made some joke about how genetics work, and Amanda started really looking at Mia, and he trailed off. Jake, what are you saying? Mia isn't who we thought she was. Her bio dad, the guy who left when Amanda got pregnant, he was white. Blonde hair, blue eyes, the whole deal. But Mia has dark hair and dark eyes and features that don't match anyone in our family or the dad's family. I leaned against the wall, my head spinning. What are you saying, Jake? Amanda went and got a DNA test, one of those paternity ones. And Lisa? Mia isn't related to her. At all. 0% match. The world tilted sideways. That's impossible. Amanda gave birth to her. We were all at the hospital. That's what Amanda thought too, but she started digging and she found medical records and... He took a shaky breath. There was another woman who gave birth the same night at the same hospital. She had a daughter too, and somehow, somewhere, the babies got switched. Oh my God. Amanda's been raising someone else's kid for 6 years, Lisa. And somewhere out there, some other woman has been raising Amanda's biological daughter. And nobody knew, nobody checked, we all just assumed. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the floor of the hospital hallway, my mind racing. Mia. Sweet little Mia with her gap-toothed smile and her obsession with dinosaurs. The little girl I'd helped raise for 3 years, who I'd bought diapers and formula for, who called me Aunt Lisa and drew me pictures. She wasn't my niece. Does Mia know? I asked. Amanda hasn't told her yet. She doesn't know how. She's completely falling apart, Lisa. She keeps saying that she loves Mia, that Mia is her daughter no matter what the DNA says, but she also can't stop thinking about the biological daughter she's never met. The hospital is freaking out because this is a huge liability issue. The other mother has been contacted. Who is she, the other mother? I don't know much. Amanda said she's married, lives about 2 hours away, has been raising what she thought was her biological daughter, and now both families are trying to figure out what the hell to do. This is insane. It gets worse. Amanda asked Mom if she'd ever suspected anything, if Mia ever seemed different, and Mom broke down and admitted that she'd wondered, early on, but she never said anything because she didn't want to rock the boat. She thought maybe the dad had lied about his ethnicity or something, and she just let it go. Another secret, another lie, another moment where my mother chose convenience over truth. Has anyone told Derek? I asked. Derek's still in rehab. He gets out next month. Amanda's trying to figure out if she should tell him now or wait. We sat in silence for a moment, both trying to process the impossibility of what we were discussing. The other family wants to meet, Jake said finally. Amanda and her daughter, the biological one, they want to figure out if the girls should know each other, if there should be some kind of custody arrangement, if... God, Lisa, I don't even know what they're trying to figure out. It's all so messed up. How's Mia? I asked, because that's what mattered. Not the biology, not the technicalities. The little girl who'd been living her life, happy and innocent, with no idea that her whole world was about to implode. She doesn't know yet.
Amanda's trying to protect her, but I don't know how long that can last. Eventually, she'll have to know. After we hung up, I sat in that hallway for another 10 minutes, trying to organize my thoughts. The universe had a twisted sense of irony. My family had tried to destroy me for being controlling with my money, only to discover I'd been supporting them with funds that were stolen from me. And now Amanda, who'd been so quick to join in my planned humiliation, was facing her own devastating revelation about the daughter she'd raised. I didn't feel schadenfreude. I didn't feel like this was karma or justice or anything poetic. I just felt sad. Sad for Mia. Sad for the other little girl. Sad for Amanda, despite everything. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I called Aunt Jean. "Lisa, honey, I've been hoping you'd call." I told my Jake told me about Amanda, about Mia. It's heartbreaking. The whole situation is just heartbreaking. How's Amanda handling it? Aunt Jean sighed deeply. Not well. She's barely holding it together. And your mother is being, well, your mother. Making it about herself, talking about how hard this is for her, as if she's the one who has to tell a 6-year-old that her entire identity is a lie. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Part of me wants to reach out to Amanda, to help somehow, but after everything that happened, you don't owe her anything, Lisa. You don't owe any of them anything. You've already given more than anyone had a right to ask. But Mia has a mother who loves her, biology or not. What Mia needs now is stability and honesty and therapy. Probably lots of therapy. What she doesn't need is to be in the middle of more family drama. She was right. I knew she was right. The thing is, Aunt Jean continued, watching this all unfold, the lawsuit, the revelations about the money, now this, I think a lot of people are finally seeing the truth about your mother, about the dynamics in that family. You were the scapegoat, Lisa, the easy target. And now that you're gone, the dysfunction doesn't have anywhere to hide. I didn't want any of this, I said, my voice breaking. I just wanted them to love me. I just wanted to be part of a family that didn't see me as an ATM or a problem to be solved. I know, honey. And for what it's worth, some of us see that now. Some of us are sorry we didn't see it sooner. In December, almost exactly a year after I had overheard the Christmas plot, I got an unexpected package. It was from Amanda. No return address, but I recognized her handwriting. Inside was a photo album, old pictures mostly. Me and Amanda as kids building snowmen. Me holding baby Mia in the hospital, my face full of joy and wonder. Me and Dad, working on a car in the driveway, both of us covered in grease and grinning. Me at my nursing school graduation, surrounded by family, everyone smiling like we were happy. On the last page was a note written in Amanda's messy scrawl. Lisa, I don't have the right words, and I don't expect forgiveness, but you should have these pictures. You should have memories that aren't all terrible. Mia asks about you sometimes. She doesn't understand why Aunt Lisa doesn't visit anymore. I don't know what to tell her because the truth makes me the villain, and I don't think she's old enough to understand that people can love you and hurt you at the same time. I'm realizing now that the pressure you must have felt all those years trying to hold us together, I never understood it. I thought you were being controlling, but you were drowning, and we kept piling more weight on you. I won't blame you if you throw this away without reading it. I just needed to say I'm sorry, and that you were right to leave, and that I hope you're happy wherever you are. Amanda. I cried reading that note, not because it fixed anything, it didn't, not because it erased the betrayal, it couldn't, but because it was real. It was honest. It was the first time anyone in my family had really seen me. Christmas came again, my second one in Charleston. This time, I wasn't alone. I'd made friends, real friends, people who liked me for me and not for what I could do for them. We had a potluck dinner, played board games, exchanged modest gifts. It was simple and warm and genuine. On Christmas Eve, I got 3 phone calls. Jake checking in, Aunt Jean inviting me to visit sometime, and a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Lisa? It's Derek. I froze. Derek? I'm out of rehab, 6 months sober, got a sponsor, got a job, got an apartment, doing the whole 12-step thing. And step 8 is making amends. He took a breath. I know I don't deserve your time, but I need to say this. I was a coward. I let Mom manipulate me. I took money that wasn't mine, that was stolen from you, and I used it to fund my addictions instead of actually getting my life together. And then I joined in planning to humiliate you because it was easier than admitting I was the problem. Derek, let me finish, please. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just need you to know that I see it now. How messed up it all was. How messed up I was. You tried to help me so many times, and I threw it back in your face over and over. And I'm sorry. I'm so damn sorry, Lisa. His voice cracked on my name, and I could tell he was crying. I'm glad you're sober, Derek. I really am, and I appreciate you calling. Are you happy wherever you are? Are you okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find it was true. I really am. Good. That's good. You deserve that. A pause. Merry Christmas, Lisa. Merry Christmas, Derek. After we hung up, I stood on my balcony in the warm Charleston night. No snow, no ice, just cool air and distant sounds of the city celebrating. Phoenix rubbed against my legs, purring. A year ago, I had been sitting in my car, destroyed, listening to my family plot against me. A year ago, I'd thought my world was ending. But endings are just beginnings in disguise. January brought news that Mom had found a job, a real job, something in retail that didn't pay much but was honest work. She'd moved into her own small apartment, living within her means for the first time in years.
February brought a letter from Derek. 3 pages of chicken scratch handwriting detailing his journey through rehab, his realizations about himself, his commitment to sobriety. He wasn't asking for money or favors. He just wanted me to know he was trying. March brought a video call from Amanda. She was nervous, jumpy, but she wanted to show me something. 2 little girls appeared on the screen, Mia and Sophie, together, playing with dolls. They looked happy, comfortable with each other. We're doing joint custody, Amanda explained. Sort of. Sophie's parents, her other parents, they're amazing people. We're trying to figure out how to be, a blended family? The girls see each other twice a week. They're sisters now, in a weird way, and I'm learning to love them both. That's beautiful, Amanda. It's complicated as hell, but yeah, it's beautiful. She smiled, and it was genuine. I'm in therapy now, real therapy, not just the free counseling at church. Working through a lot of stuff. About Mom, about Dad, about you, about how I treated you. Amanda, I know you don't want to hear it, or maybe you've heard it enough, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for all of it. You were the best sister I could have asked for, and I was too selfish and blind to see it. We talked for an hour, the longest conversation we'd had in over a year. It wasn't a reconciliation, exactly. It wasn't everything suddenly being okay, but it was a start. A small, fragile beginning. April brought a promotion at work, nurse manager, with a team of 10 nurses under my supervision. More money, more responsibility, more respect. May brought my first real relationship in Charleston, a physical therapist named Marcus, who had nothing to do with lawyers or lawsuits or family drama. Just a good guy who liked hiking and cooking and made me laugh. June brought another letter from Patricia Chen's estate. She'd passed away in March, peacefully, according to her executor. In her will, she'd left me $10,000 and another note. Lisa, I hope this helps make up for some of what was taken from you. Use it to build something beautiful. Live the life your father wanted for you. Thank you for giving me the chance to make things right before I left this world. Patricia. I used that money to start a college fund. Not for Mia or Sophie or any of my family. For future nursing students. A scholarship at my old university for students who are working full-time while going to school, just like I had. Students who are trying to build better lives despite the odds. I named it the Robert Morrison Memorial Scholarship, after my dad. In August, I got one final text from Jake. He'd finished his first year at university. Dean's list, scholarship renewed, job lined up for the summer. Doing it all himself.
None of this would have happened without you believing in me first, he wrote. You showed me what strength looks like. Thank you for that, for everything. That's when I realized something important. The family I'd left behind, they weren't villains in some revenge story. They were broken people who'd done terrible things because they didn't know how to deal with their own brokenness. My mother wasn't evil. She was weak and scared and bitter about her own failures. Amanda wasn't malicious. She was selfish and immature, unable to see past her own needs. Derek wasn't a monster. He was an addict who'd been using me as a crutch instead of actually healing. And me? I wasn't their savior. I was just another person trying to survive, trying to be good, trying to help. But I'd been setting myself on fire to keep them warm, and eventually there was nothing left of me to burn. Walking away wasn't revenge. It was survival. It was choosing myself when no one else would choose me. It was saying, I matter too. The karma they experienced, Mom's financial struggles, Amanda's DNA revelation, Derek's relapse, that wasn't my doing. That was just life. Life has a way of teaching us lessons, whether we want to learn them or not. And sometimes those lessons are harsh and painful and unfair. But they're also necessary. My family had to learn to stand on their own. They had to face the consequences of their choices. They had to grow up. And they couldn't do any of that with me there, absorbing all the shocks, smoothing over all the problems, sacrificing myself to make their lives easier. I didn't set out to hurt them by leaving, but I also didn't set out to save them anymore, because you can't save people who don't want to save themselves. On Christmas Eve, my second one in Charleston, I hosted dinner at my apartment. Marcus was there along with some friends from work, Aunt Jean, who'd flown down for the holidays, and Jake, who'd driven down during his winter break. We cooked together, laughed together, told stories. It was warm and genuine and full of the kind of love that doesn't keep score, that doesn't come with conditions, that doesn't require you to set yourself on fire. At midnight, Jake and I stood on my balcony, while everyone else was inside playing cards. Do you ever regret it? Leaving? Burning it all down? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I regret that it had to happen that way. I regret that they couldn't see what they were doing. I regret the years I lost trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. But leaving? No. That was the best decision I ever made. You saved yourself, and you showed me I could save myself too. That's all any of us can do, Jake. Save ourselves. And maybe, if we're lucky, show other people that it's possible. The moral of my story isn't that revenge is sweet, or that walking away is easy, or that toxic family members always get what they deserve. Life isn't that tidy. You are not obligated to pour from an empty cup. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to step back and let people face the natural consequences of their choices. You cannot save people who don't want to be saved, but you can always, always save yourself. The greatest act of self-love is knowing when to walk away. And the greatest act of courage is choosing your own peace over other people's comfort. And this is how I learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to let people who hurt you control your story anymore. Sometimes the best revenge is building a beautiful life without them. Sometimes the best revenge is healing. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the people you left behind learn to heal too. Not for you, not because you made them, but because they finally decided to save themselves. That's not revenge, that's grace. And grace, I've learned, is the most powerful force in the universe. Remember, family isn't just about blood. It's about respect, love, and choosing to show up for each other. Real family lifts you up, it doesn't tear you down. And if the people who share your DNA can't be your family, then build a family from the people who choose you, who see you, who celebrate you. You deserve nothing less.
If this story touched your heart or made you feel every twist of pain and justice, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Your support means everything and keeps these emotions alive on screen. And before you go, leave your valuable thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how this story made you feel.